When I became aware that the school was going to be here today, I thought of that wonderful testimony we had 2 years back, I think it was, when Andy, a past student of the school, became an Adventist, went to college and came back now as a teacher there on the staff and is doing a fantastic witness there and a great job on the staff at the school. I thought, I wonder if there's another story. Could I interview somebody else? And I found out, yes, there is. And we're going to ask, if you wouldn't mind now for us, please, Nicole Locker, if you would come to the microphone, and I'll give you the desk, and I'll take those away so that they don't distract. There you go. And I'll take this one. And I'm going to just, through asking 1 or 2 questions, I'm going to ask Nicole to share her story of recent years. But we always want to know a little bit about somebody's background before we start, don't we? So the first couple of minutes, Nicole, just tell us where you come from and what was your background before you hit the Central Coast and our school.
Okay, so I was born and raised in Brisbane in a little suburb of Albany Creek, which is north of Brisbane, not technically Brisbane. When I grew up there, you lived on one side of Albany Creek Road or the other, so it was quite small. Now you live in an estate in Albany Creek. It's quite big. My mum wasn't very religious, but my dad was very religious. So I was originally baptised Anglican, and he sent us to Sunday school, which I don't really remember, but I remember being made to go. I remember when my dad got quite sick, his faith became quite important to him, and it didn't matter how sick he was. He would go to church every single Sunday. And when he did pass away, my sister and I, the first thing we did was actually go to his church because we felt that would be where we could be closest to him at that time. So there I grew up in Brisbane and somehow ended up here on the coast.
Okay. Now, about the time you came to the past, you and your partner had your boy, or was that a little later? Where does that fit into the story? And tell us about your son.
Coming to school?
Yes.
Yeah, well,
okay.
we had kind of quite late in life. I was 40 when I found out I was pregnant. I actually asked for a recliner from Peter when he said, "What do you want for your 40th?" I said, "I want a recliner." And it was about 1 week later I found out I was pregnant. So he was my 40th birthday present, finding out I was pregnant. We weren't having kids, wasn't on our agenda. We used to do car rallies and travel. That was what we wanted to do. So we changed our life dramatically when he came along. And we were living in a house at Mandalong and looking for a school. We did have also a property at Baddo Bay. And we had enrolled him at Avondale. Right, and he had gone to the Early Learning Centre when he was, before he started school. And we decided that Mandalong was a little bit too remote for us. We only had one child. There was no way he could play with friends because we lived on property. So we would sell Mandalong and live at Baddo Bay full time. So the hunt again for another school, and we decided, well, we were going to send him to the Adventist school. Let's have a look at Central Coast Adventist School. So that's how we ended up there. He started in kindy, and they used to have parents that used to come in and help with reading groups back then when he was in kindy, and I put my name down. And that's how my connection started with the school.
And it went from there to what with the school?
It went from there to being... I can remember when I was in high school, I wanted to be a teacher. But life got in the way, and when I found myself in the classroom helping Grace Gates do reading groups, I sat there and I went, oh, wow, I remember I wanted to be a teacher. And I thought I was too old to do anything about it then, so I set about becoming a teacher's aide. So I did the courses to become a teacher's aide, and I was so lucky to be able to get a job at the school as a teacher's aide. And my journey sort of started there.
Okay, can I ask, because you've mentioned to me that while you attached back with the Anglican Church after your father died. That didn't last, and you kind of left Christianity for a while. How did you find coming back into a religious community like the Central Coast Adventist School?
When you walk into Central Coast Adventist School, one of the first things that you actually feel is that it is actually a community. It has a different feel to a lot of other schools, and I felt really at home at the school.
Yeah.
I felt really at ease at the school. I did feel like it was a community. I had never heard of a meal train before until the very first one came into my email about a meal train, and I went, wow, these people actually care about each other. And that was a huge deal. It was like, wow, they care and they want to help each other out. So my first meal train was like, wow, okay, that's big.
Okay. All right. You've mentioned, you used with me an illustration that you felt like a little bit like Rahab.
Yes.
Sort of locked up in the city that was about to be destroyed.
Yes.
And there on the outside was somebody who had something. Now, when did you begin to realise that this is my tribe, was the word you used?
Yes. It was my first WOS.
Week of spiritual emphasis,
yeah.
right? Yep.
We don't, as TAs, we don't generally get to enjoy, firstly, worship in the morning because we're doing booster classes, and we are assigned to other parts of the school when WOS is on. But there was this one week where we had the opportunity to go up. I remember Leighton up there, he was talking about hope, and he was wearing the Surf Life Saving uniform. And the story he was talking about was personal, and I just went, wow, I love that story of hope that you just told. So witnessing WOS, and then I always tried to at least sneak a look in every WOS after that to try and have a look and see what the theme was. They did have a theme of tribe, I think was last year. The years all gel when you get older, you know what it's like. I'm pretty sure it was last year was Tribe, the first one. And around the school, they just had names of people, and I thought that was really incredible. Yeah. And I was looking at these people going, I think you are my tribe, because I feel really comfortable with you all and with all the people. And when you listen to their stories in worship and they talk about how an experience in their life, whether it be good or bad, and the connection with Jesus and the Bible, some of those stories are really touching. Yeah. And some of them can actually touch you and you go, I can relate to that.
Right. Okay. Now, you also called, I understand, because while you indicate you weren't able, because of rostering and so on, you weren't able to get into every worship, but you saw worship for a while as church. Explain what you mean by that.
I went to WOS on this particular occasion with the tribe, and then Pastor Leighton sent out an email to everybody. It wasn't just to me, but that's how I took it. Inviting everybody to come and enjoy the Saturday at the Haven to just celebrate WOS for that week. And I went, you know what? I'm going to take you up on that offer, and I'm going to go. And I've never looked back after that. I started going regularly every Saturday, and now you'll find me on the welcome committee, and now you'll find me in the hospitality committee when they have their lunch. So I've never looked back from that one invite from Pastor Leighton saying, wow, come and join us. And I went, okay, I will. That's to me. Okay,
thank you. Now, you mentioned that Pastor Leighton's wife, yep, Ali, also was a significant figure in this journey. Yep. Where did she fit in?
Well, I had been baptised as Anglican. And I saw Ali sitting in the staff room one day, and I just asked her the question, if you are baptised one thing, can you become something else? Can you change? Is it okay? Is it frowned upon? Because I didn't have any idea if it would be acceptable, like if I would be accepted. And I asked the question based on what Pastor Russell said. I'd been reading a book, The Lineage of Grace, and it's about 4 of the strong women in Jesus' line, and I had read the story of Rahab, and she was me. She was me in the walled city looking over the river at the tribe that she wanted to become part of.
Yeah.
And I really related to her, and I also Naomi and Ruth's story, where she wanted to be part of that tribe. And so I asked Ali, and she was just like, yeah, of course, yes, we'd love to have you. And she was so welcoming that then gave me the confidence to then talk to Pastor Ian.
Yeah. And I understand that Ellie was also Ellie, I should say, was also the person that you went to when you had a difficult question. And she, in a way, was a good source of information.
She was a very good source of information. Ali's very easy to talk to, and
Right.
she's always willing to talk about her faith and inviting people into her.
And she was also
world.
very good at talking in class when she was a kid, because I taught her. But anyway.
And she was also very good because when it all started to happen, and I didn't want it to be a big deal, and didn't need everybody to know. And of course, Ali announced it at church.
Okay.
In front of everybody.
So you mentioned Pastor Ian Kanji. Yep. What did he do? Where would he fit into the story?
He was amazing. He understood that I wanted to because I have been baptised since then, and he understood I wanted to keep it private because this was my journey. Right. And
we're announcing it everywhere.
Announcing it everywhere now, but I wanted to keep it private. So I didn't need it to be announced to the world. I didn't need it to be a big deal because it was a very personal journey for me.
Yes.
And so he was very good at keeping my baptism and talking to me and making it like my day and keeping it nice and small for me.
Yeah. Tell us about your baptism day.
Well, it was, I'm going to smile because it was just amazing. It was at 7 o'clock in the morning at my favourite place. So my favourite place, for those of you who don't know me, is Tawoon Bay. I absolutely love Tawoon Bay. You'll find me down there every single Sunday and every other day when it's school holidays. But we decided we would have it at Tawoon Bay at 7 a.m. so that then Ian could get to church and anyone who was coming could get to church. So, of course, because Ali had let it out of the bag, there were a few extra people there, but it was still very, very small. As we were all coming down the hill into Tawoon Bay, we all had our umbrellas because it was raining, but that didn't worry me. We were coming down. It was the 2nd of December. It was cloudy. And as soon as we were all down there and we stepped onto the beach, the rain stopped.
Hey.
And we put our umbrellas down. The rain stopped. We walked out onto the sand. The ocean was flat. It was so flat and calm and crystal clear. It was just beautiful. And a very good friend of mine, Miranda Dunstan, who isn't a water baby, hopped into the water with me. So that was amazing in itself. And after I was baptised and we were all in the water, we all swam out to the can together, and Miranda did it. I was so proud of her. And then we all came back, and the water felt like silk, and it was clear and calm. The next day when I went back, it was absolutely choppy, and when I was swimming, I could not see my hand in front of my face.
Wonderful.
And that was just the next day.
And as I mentioned to you, that was December, wasn't it, for you? Just last December when she was baptised. But we had a very similar experience less than 2 months ago with my grandson, where the weather just opened up as an answer to prayer. Incredible. So we have something in common there. Thank you. Now, look, I see our time has almost gone, but we just have enough time to conclude with 3 points. One point is, tell us, you had a desire to be a teacher. So you've been a teacher's aide for these years there at the school. Now where's it going? How close are you to finishing that degree, qualification?
Well, yeah, so I am now 4 units away from finishing my teaching degree. Thank you. I am doing 2 subjects now, so in September I'll only be 2 subjects away from finishing my teaching degree. I am actually able to teach now, and the school is extremely supportive of my journey as a teacher. I can't thank them enough for what they have done, and that brings back to their sense of community and wanting to help people in their community achieve and be the best that they can be.
Yeah, look, thank you for that. And you have re-emphasised also what we heard this morning being shared by the principal and others in the group, that the school is just such a caring school, and that it's really something that as a church, an enlarged church, we can be very proud of, the school here on the Central Coast. And that includes the teachers. Look what's happened here. This is we don't have to go overseas to see a really good mission story. This is a good mission story, isn't it? About somebody who's come to Christ and through a workplace influence. It wasn't the classroom for Nicole, it was the workplace, it was the teachers, it was other people around her that just shared their influence, and they were who they were, and it was through that witness that they gave that Nicole is standing here before you today as a born-again Christian and a baptised Adventist. So it's wonderful, isn't it? Nicole, in conclusion, there is one other point that I think is worthwhile our noting as well, and that is that in sharing your story, I've picked up that, let me just back off for a minute. As a church, we're very proud of the fact that we have some truth that we can share, we've been entrusted to share with the world. And we're very keen on presenting that truth and following through with it. And I certainly am too. But what we see here is something that really stands before the presenting of truth. And that is the importance of the personal witness that is given, and the influence of that witness probably has greater appeal and attraction to people in our world than does the presenting of an evangelistic series on truth. Are you following with me? And you see it in the story of Nicole, and I think it's wonderful. Nicole, you have the last word, and you did mention to me that for the future, you don't mind where God leads you. Just enlarge.
Well, of course, coming to the end of my teaching degree, I would love to get a job at the school, but I have realised in the last probably a year and a bit that if I'm open to the signs, that God will lead me where He needs me to be. And it may not necessarily be at Central Coast Adventist School, and I am totally okay with that because I will be where I need to be.
Nicole, I'd like to thank you very much for that little testimony at the end. Is very strong, very powerful, but your whole testimony is a great story. And I think we need to put our hands together to thank Nicole and for the step that she has taken.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Nicole. A great story, and we really appreciate you coming up and sharing that story, particularly when you had been very private about the journey up to that baptism point. But we wish you the best as you continue your journey with the Lord, and particularly also in the area of teaching. So well done. Thank you.